Well, we are now learning that the Boston bombing suspects made a spontaneous decision in the car that night to go to New York City and possibly set off the leftover explosives that they had, and they wanted to do that perhaps right in Times Square, according to some of what they said in this early testimony, or the younger brother said, I should say. This is a 2012 picture that was taken in Times Square. It's haunting, looking back at it, and you can see in the red circle is Dzhokhar Tsarnaev enjoying the Big Apple along with some friends. Of course, the two terror suspects never made it out of Massachusetts, which we now know. However, New York City Police Commissioner Ray Kelly says that they were ready to do some damage here, he believes.
The two brothers had at their disposal 6 improvised explosive devices. One was a pressure cooker bomb, similar to the 2 that had exploded at the marathon. The other 5 were pipe bombs.
It's frightening to think what could have happened if a similar scene took place in Times Square. New York Congressman Peter King is the chairman of the Subcommittee on Counterterrorism and Intelligence, and he joins me now. Congressman, good morning. Welcome back.
Good morning, Martha. Thank you very much.
You have a problem with the timeline on when this information was relayed to New York from the FBI, right?
Yes, Martha. It appears it was almost 72 hours between the time when the younger brother spoke about an attack on Times Square and when the FBI notified the NYPD. In fact, I'm not even sure if it was the FBI that did the notification. It may have been the Boston police. And to me, this is inexcusable, because whether or not, obviously, that person in the hospital couldn't carry out the attack, but we don't know yet how many people were involved in this conspiracy. There could have been others in New York or others that were placed or positioned to go to New York. The NYPD and Mayor Bloomberg should have been notified immediately so they could put into effect any defensive measures they have, also do their own surveillance, reach out to their sources, see if there was any chance of anybody in the area being radicalized or being part of this movement who could have carried out the attack. So it's really inexcusable for one law enforcement agency not to tell another on a matter literally of life and death.
Well, it seems like the first part of what you said is what they're going on. They're saying, well, you know, we had him with us. His brother was dead. We knew this threat was not imminent, so we didn't pass it along to New York, what I would imagine be the logic here. Are you concerned about how much stock is being put in exactly what Dzhokhar is saying, and how much is perhaps not being pursued outside of that?
Well, first of all, I don't believe anything he says, but everything he says has to be pursued and checked out. And if he said New York, then New York should have been told. Let Commissioner Kelly and Mayor Bloomberg decide how they want to evaluate that information. Because, again, there could be 2, 3, 4, 5 other conspirators out there who may want to have followed through on the attack and gone to New York when they saw that the younger brother was captured. So, again, this is really a decision for the New York City Police Commissioner to make, as how he evaluates that information. It was the FBI's job to give him that information to evaluate.
Yeah. No doubt the FBI is talking to as many people as they can get their hands on who had any connection to these guys. And one of them is the imam at a controversial mosque in Boston. What do you know about that?
Well, my understanding is that the imam, even when the older brother was ejected and thrown out of the mosque, the imam did not tell anyone in law enforcement about that, which he should have, because that has been a sign of radicalism, that when a person conducts himself that he has to be ejected from a mosque, which was probably the right thing to do, but that usually is a sign that that's a precursor to, to radicalization. And I believe the imam had an obligation to tell local law enforcement and tell the FBI about it. As to whether he's cooperating with the FBI now, I'm not certain. I doubt that he is. But in any event, he should have, in the first instance, back in January or February, gone immediately to the FBI or gone to the Boston Police Department and told them this.
Yeah. You know, obviously we're looking for holes in the system because we want to learn from what happened here. And I think back to the instances where they have tested, bringing weapons into the New York City airports and they've gotten through. It seems to me, and I don't want to knock anybody because I know everybody's working hard, or we hope so. We assume that because we want to assume the best. But we're learning about some very serious gaps in what we thought was a decent system after 9/11.
Yeah, the system is so large nationally, and I think it is going to have to be refined. I think also the Justice Department is going to have to change some of the guidelines for the FBI and allow them to keep investigations open longer, to allow more surveillance. Because the bottom line is we're going to see more and more attacks coming from within the country rather than coming from overseas to here, and that's going to require much more local intelligence. I think we should have more police departments doing what the NYPD is doing, going out into the community and being proactive.
You know, we're told by Janet Napolitano that Tamerlan no negative information came forth on him, that they checked him out and they found no negative information on him. Nonetheless, you know, he was posting jihadist-like videos on the web and, you know, engaging in activity that took him to a very dangerous place in Russia. So, I mean, how do you put those dots together?
You know, I would say that, without going into details, there was some negative information that was there. But secondly, they didn't follow this through. I don't think they ever spoke to anyone in his mosque. They never spoke to the imam.
Why not? Why not, Congressman King? What do you think?
All I can think of is this political correctness. This is somehow this fear that by talking to someone in a mosque, you're going after somebody's religion, but you're not. Muslims are not violent people, but there are people in that community who are violent, and they assemble often and congregate and meet in mosques, and that to me is a very legitimate question. Ask people in the mosque, did anybody act strangely here? Has he acted radically? Has he shown radical ideas? How far do you think those radical ideas have gone to? We've had the same situation on Long Island, where we had a person ejected from 2 mosques. They didn't tell anyone. He goes to Afghanistan and fights alongside al-Qaeda.
Well, you have tried to pursue this in hearings on domestic terror. You got a lot of heat for it. So we will keep talking to you about it. It's a very important topic, and we know you're on it. Congressman, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.